Fresh snake skins, often from pythons or other large snakes, start the process. You're looking for clean, intact scales, so the material is kept cool and handled gently. A skilled worker begins with a careful belly cut, running from head to tail in one steady line. The blade follows the natural path of the skin, not the flesh beneath, so the scales aren't damaged. Next comes the peel. You lift the skin edge and slowly pull it away from the body, using small, controlled motions. If you tug too hard, tears spread fast and the pattern loses value, so patience matters. Throughout, you keep tension even, letting the skin separate naturally while the worker's hands guide it. When the last section loosens, the scales remain smooth and recognizable from head to tail, ready for the next stage. That careful approach keeps the texture crisp, helping artisans use the hide without patching later on. After the skin is harvested, you treat it gently like fragile fabric. First, rinse it under cool, clean water to wash away blood and loose bits of flesh. Use your fingertips, not brushes, so the fine scale pattern stays intact. Let the water run slowly over the surface, turning the skin so every side gets a clear wash. If you see stubborn debris, you lightly wipe along the grain of the scales, then rinse again. Avoid long soaking, since extended water can weaken it. Pat gently with a clean cloth out of direct sun for now. Keep the skin supported. Lay it flat or hold it with both hands so it doesn't crumple or stretch. As you rinse, you'll notice the color soften and the surface looks smoother, like it's settling into shape. When the water runs clearer and the skin feels clean, you're ready for the next step of care. After you've cleaned the snake skin, don't rush it dry. Instead, place it in a calm, controlled water bath, lukewarm, just enough to wake the material up. You'll see the surface relax as it absorbs moisture, which helps any stubborn bits of tissue loosen on their own. The key is control. Keep the water steady and avoid harsh soaking or scrubbing, because the goal is rehydration, not damage. While it sits, you can gently check progress, using soft handling to feel where the skin is still tight or slightly clinging. When it releases, lift it carefully, letting excess water drip off. The scales stay crisp because you're treating them like a delicate texture, not a job to brute force. That quiet soak is what turns cleaned into truly workable. In short, you're giving the skin time to loosen so you preserve the unique pattern and make the next step easier for you. First, set up your workspace so the snake skin lies flat, underside up. You'll use specialized tools, small scrapers and gentle tension, because speed is the enemy of clean work. Take a scraper and with steady pressure, lift away excess membrane and any bits of flesh clinging to the underside. Work in short passes. Scrape, pause, wipe, then check the surface. You're looking for a uniform feel, not streaks or leftover soft tissue. If you rush, the blade can dig too deep and ruin the layer you're trying to keep. Keep going until the remaining surface looks and feels consistent, like smooth leather. Notice the color shift as unwanted material peels back, leaving a clean, even texture you can run your fingers over. That intact portion is the pure dermal layer, ready for the next step. Slow, careful scraping turns rough skin into a clear starting point, calm, methodical, and surprisingly satisfying. First, lay the snakeskin flat, with the natural scales facing up. You mix a lime solution, just strong enough to lift surface grime, then gently apply it so the skin stays evenly wet. As the lime works, it cleans what's left on the surface and loosens the fiber structure beneath. That opening up matters. It gives the tanning step room to do its job, so the hide soaks in treatments evenly instead of turning stiff or patchy. Watch the pattern too. The goal isn't to erase it, it's to keep the natural markings crisp while the hide becomes ready to tan. Timing is everything. Too much can blur details, but enough keeps the texture receptive and stronger for the next stage ahead. After a soak, you rinse and allow the skin to settle, then move on to tanning. Done carefully, you end up with cleaned, workable leather, beautifully patterned, not dulled. Once your snake skin is cleaned and prepped, you slide it into a tanning bath. Think of it like a protective soak. Chrome tanning or gentler vegetable tanning agents do the work. During the soak, the chemicals settle into the hide's collagen, the natural protein fibers that give the skin its strength and flexibility. Instead of letting those fibers loosen or rot over time, the tanning process permanently stabilizes them. That's what turns a fragile, dried skin into durable, leather-like material. And the best part? The scale pattern doesn't smear or fade. As the collagen sets, it locks in the distinctive design so the raised scales keep their crisp look. When the skin comes out, it feels more supple, but the identity is the same. Every stripe and ridge preserved by the bath. So whether you choose chrome or plants, the bath is the moment the skin becomes lasting and wearable today. Once the snake skin has been tanned, don't rush. You first neutralize it so the material's chemistry settles down and won't fight the dye. Then comes the patient part, careful dyeing. You work the color in slowly, watching it soak into every nook. Keep your timing steady, no lingering patches, so the color doesn't pool or fade in streaks. Because each scale sits like a tiny tile, you want the dye to reach the edges and the spaces beneath, not just the shiny surface. Use gentle, even coverage, strokes that follow the skin's grain, until every area looks equally receptive. When the dye sets, you'll see a rich, uniform color, deep, even, and smooth to the eye. That consistent penetration is the difference between patchy blotches and a finish that looks whole, scale by scale. Done right, the dye grips each scale, so the pattern stays vibrant, even when the leather flexes over time. First, you start with dyed snake skin, already colored in rich tones. Next, you apply oils and conditioners, gently working them into the hide so it doesn't feel dry or stiff. You can picture the surface drinking in the treatments, while the natural scales stay put. After the skin is conditioned, you mechanically soften it. Think careful stretching and working the material until it loosens up. This step matters. It helps the leather become flexible and supple, making it easier to handle and shape. Throughout, the goal isn't to remove the scaled surface, but to keep it crisp and visually distinct. When the treatment is done right, the scales remain textured and lifelike, while the overall feel is smooth, responsive, and comfortable against your hands. That blend of character and comfort is what turns dyed snakeskin into a usable, durable material. So you get supple leather that shows every scale. Ever notice how snakeskin looks alive until it meets moisture? A protective finish is the simple upgrade. You apply a thin coating over the natural scales, almost like sealing a book cover. First, it boosts water resistance, so splashes and humidity have a harder time soaking in. Next, the color deepens. Those subtle browns, greens, and iridescent highlights show up with richer contrast, not dulling after contact with air. Then comes the finish itself. Choose the vibe. A glossy top coat makes the scales catch light, smooth, and shiny like polished stone. Want something calmer? A matte finish keeps the texture more muted, giving an elegant, understated look. Either way, the surface feels protected while the scale pattern stays unmistakably itself. Apply it evenly, letting it dry fully before handling. After that, wipe off dust easily and enjoy longer-lasting beauty, whether your piece sits in bright light or everyday use. Daily. 1. You start with raw snakeskin, inspected for texture and damage. The surface tells you where the grain is strong. 2. You soak it to loosen dirt, letting the hide relax. Warm water does the work and the hide loosens without tearing. 3. You carefully remove remaining flesh and hair, keeping the pattern intact. 4. You scrape and smooth the surface so the scales feel clean and even. 5. You cure it, then rinse to prepare for tanning. 6. You tan the hide, transforming it from raw material into flexible leather. It stays supple and strong. 7. You condition and dye, bringing out rich color while preserving the natural sheen. 8. You stretch and dry it flat so it won't warp later. 9. You inspect again, measuring thickness, firmness, and quality. 10. Finally, you precisely cut finished panels, ready to become high-end fabric and leather for fashion and accessories.